Welcome to Tech Talk Live. It is Tuesday, January 21st. I'm Jack Armstrong. It's 6 p.m. here in Los Angeles.
And a little after 9 in the DMV. I'm Sam Giacinto, and you're listening to Tech Talk Live. Welcome to the show.
Welcome. Yeah, so lots of tech related to Trump and some AI news. We've got OpenAI as well. We've got some news about switches, the Switch 2, the newest iOS 18.3, and some iPhone 17 leaks we'll be talking about. So I think first, though, we should get into the huge announcement by the Trump administration today that deals with OpenAI and their investments into critical AI infrastructure so that America can compete and set ourselves up for success. So kind of interesting news. Of course, as we are still dealing with a lot of uncertainty with TikTok. Obviously, last week on our show, we spoke with a creator who has been impacted by all of this uncertainty. I think everyone on the internet is kind of a little uneasy with is it really going to be here for the long term? And I think, yeah, it's sparking a lot of controversy. I think also leading into, we don't want to rely a lot on Chinese technology in terms of also, in the future with, AI resources. And so $500 billion was the commitment to build AI data centers. That's kind of incredible.
It's an interesting announcement. It seems to be a joint venture between OpenAI, Oracle, and SoftBank. As far as the more or less private capital, I guess, that could be behind it. It's very, the details are very light as of now. Whereas, we'll supposedly commit 100 billion initially and then pour up to 500 billion over the next 4 years. And details are pretty scarce.
It does look to be built in Texas. You saw it's going to also be believed to be built in Texas, called Stargate.
Oh, interesting. And I only say that because Texas has their own power grid. As far as, they're not necessarily connected to the wider grid. So it'll be interesting to see. It's a distinct issue in Virginia, even with the municipal utility of just sort of, data centers use a lot of power and water. So again, a lot of, demand is created that more or less is difficult to accommodate. So kind of in that isolated environment, I'm going to definitely, we're going to keep our eyes and ears peeled for the specifics of the implementation.
Well, and also, of course, SoftBank, why is SoftBank involved in this? Well, it's interesting because, they've long played a role in, large tech companies, I think, kind of in the background. And they've been investing in dozens of Silicon Valley startups and semiconductor companies. And they clearly have also, they want this to do well, I think, because just how heavily they are invested into the tech space. And they seem to know that, you need the infrastructure to also build on top of that. And of course, that WeWork was also one of their large, I guess, failings, you could say. But it's interesting. Big tech also, of course, I'm sure you saw, but it's interesting. Wasn't you saw Bezos, Elon, the Google CEO, they all were standing right there on live TV for his inauguration, and pretty crazy with the luncheon yesterday. I don't know if you saw that, but it's crazy getting them all in one room and cozying up to to the new administration.
I did not see it yesterday. At least the lunch part of it. But I mean, from a purely, from a business perspective, it makes sense. I mean, you'd like to be involved with any sort of activity that could impact it. So can't blame them for that. And
Yeah.
we really just have to see again, like there's so many things that are not, the implementation is going to be the most interesting part. And that comes
Oh, for
later.
sure.
And to kind of zoom out, at least, with with SoftBank, I mean, they've had a few high profile investment funds, notably the Vision Fund, which you're probably kind of alluding to and talking about, of just, you know, investing in various, technology based startups, in, the transportation or finance or, artificial intelligence sectors. So that's kind of been their most notable, sort of, the Vision Fund is kind of what they're known for. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, a lot of the stuff, again, it's, high risk, high reward. I mean, they were, forced to sell their Nvidia stock before it came to fruition, in February 2019. They sold their close to, was it, I guess I want to say a 4.9% position in Nvidia, which they had to sell a little bit too early. Let's just say that. So it's been hit or miss over there, which obviously is kind of the name of the
Yeah.
game when it comes
Oh, for
to
sure.
investment. Can't blame them. But again, really light on the details. But it seems to
Well,
be a much
this
more
keep
AI forward sort of implementation of things.
Oh, for sure. Well, also keep in mind this is already being built. So it's not just like, well, is it going to be built? Where is it going to be built? What cities are, this is already under construction. I don't know if you saw that as well. So Larry Ellison confirmed, that now I don't know. I mean, you're right that they have to get a huge amount of resources, energy, I mean, solar. I mean, Trump was not a fan of wind power. I don't know if you caught the speech. I had the news on all day yesterday, and I just was blown away by some of his comments. I just was, you seriously saying this? Like, you're dismissing clean energy and wanting to drill, drill, drill. But I think it's time for our country to bring back these huge projects in the AI. I mean, it's 500 billion. Understand this is that's a lot of money. I mean, I know AI is huge, but damn, I mean, I taken care of by AI, like, and cloud processing. It's really incredible.
Well, the size and scale are
When
certainly.
I mean, I don't think people can grasp just how hard.
I mean, it's a large scale project, and that's that's something to kind of. I mean, a lot of risk and a lot of reward involved in those. So we'll keep an eye on it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, did our friend Larry mention when he expects it to be done, or I guess I mean, I didn't see too many specifics, other than the amount, and I guess
Yeah, I don't.
Larry said there's 10 data centers built so far. It seems like, according to the AP, which is a nice number, right? But it's just sort of like, what does that mean? 10 out of 100, 1,000. I don't know. It's something to keep an eye on, though.
No, I mean, yeah. I wonder, like, I mean, I think it's interesting because, you need the backing of the government for some infrastructure projects, like catching up, our country on semiconductors and manufacturing chips here. I think we would be lacking if we, don't mention that as well, because I don't think we want to fall behind, in this tech space. And I think tech is a huge part of America and our culture. And I think obviously it's on display with, Elon Trump and all the leaders that were there at the inauguration yesterday. I think it just kind of shows you. I I believe I would imagine they would want to get this through as soon as possible. Like, why keep waiting? I mean, maybe 3 to 5 years. I don't know. I don't think they said. I did any articles I was looking at did not say when the data centers would be actually completed. But yeah, it's quite a project. And then I feel even if it was completed, again, the energy part of it is also going to be like a huge part of, can it actually meet the demand of the growing data center? What if the data center is at 100% capacity, or processing power or whatever, and that's going to be drawing more power, that's going to be creating more heat. It's really, really interesting too. And also, I think obviously utilizing that heat to heat water, right, to maybe send hot water to homes nearby. That would be a great use of that energy. So I know that that's been happening in Silicon Valley as well, but I don't know if this is interesting. It believes that initial operations are expected to begin late 2025, and it says it could be fully operational capacity. Yes, okay. Projected for 2026. So it looks like maybe by the end of next year. So it's actually better than like 3 years construction. So yeah, I mean, I guess all of our well, and also it's interesting to note. I mean, I know, I don't know how much of our audience realizes that Oracle is the big player behind servers. So a lot of people that when they're on TikTok actually really going to Oracle's data centers and servers who power TikTok. So that's really fascinating. And I think, yeah, it just shows you all these big companies that you don't really realize are behind the internet, just like the Cloudflare outage a few years ago. And then what was that? The red company with a red logo.
Well, you could be talking about CrowdStrike.
Also had that outage that affected airlines and
yeah, no, that
CrowdStrike. Yes, you're right.
That was a huge, just endpoint monitoring / security solution. Really poor testing practices. It's quite incredible. I mean, I think you can really just know that no matter what what you think about technology, there's always a company who's doing something. Yeah. Completely, out of left field as far as best practices go with that. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, yeah, I think I'm a huge fan. We talk about it a lot. Blockchain. It would be interesting to see, obviously, if how much infrastructure can truly be distributed across a blockchain that enables a lot of smaller entities. I mean, Oracle's huge, Amazon Web Services, and that stuff's huge. And I'm not saying there's a bad thing to have it centralized in the way that it is. I know we previously talked to Kish, who was an engineer at Amazon, about how they mitigate for risks and things across their whole network. But I mean, no network design is perfect, but I feel like, yeah, there are a lot of companies. And I feel like when so much of the internet is run by one monopoly or just a couple companies, it when something goes down and doesn't work properly, so much of the internet just goes offline. And I mean, yeah, we need more competition. We need more alternatives. We need more distributed cloud computing. We need more blockchain. Could be a good answer to that. I mean, who knows? I mean, I think it's still so early with all of this. So it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and it's time will tell for a lot of these things, but I think, I mean, our biggest, I mean, we're gonna have an energy crunch for a lot of this stuff. I mean,
Oh yeah.
relatively, U.S. residential power is not, it's really nowhere near, the data center consumption, even at this point, and
Mhm.
it's it's only going to kind of grow wider,
Oh, for
in terms
sure.
of the overall power usage. I'm trying to find exact figures on this, but
Well, also another thing. Speaking of just I mean, even going back to TikTok and the creator economy. So huge news yesterday. I know it kind of got a little bit washed up with the inauguration, but TikTok, it obviously with that, uncertainty. So Meta is contacting creators on TikTok who have large followings on TikTok, offering them large bonuses, um, rumored to be around $10,000 to $50,000 per month or more to make their short videos for Instagram Reels,
oh, really?
exclusive.
So kind of a like a poaching
It,
type deal.
yes, absolutely. And so it's for Nikki.
This is kind of what
It seems
streaming
like
platforms Kick did. Um,
yeah.
Kick and Rumble, just kind of,
Oh yeah.
just trying to. I don't know how effective this is. So kind of zooming out. If you don't have the network effect, which is just sort of people naturally using your platform, you can simply incentivize those larger creators to create content, which will give you that network effect in a way.
Yeah. Well, absolutely, and creators follow the money, as we were talking with last week with Nikki. So I think it's, but also a lot of creators don't like the algorithm on Instagram. So Meta has their work cut out for them. I mean, I think people will take the money. I do think people will post. I mean, because why not? If you're making a ton of guaranteed income, like why not? I mean, that's why turn that down just because you want to be on TikTok when there might be more uncertainty coming forth. So yeah, it's a fascinating time to be, I guess, a creator with a large following because maybe this is your opportunity to try out Instagram again and see how it goes. So yeah, who knows really if it'll stick.
Well, and that's, I mean, because again, that's kind of the key. And if once the money dries up,
Yeah.
you're essentially as a content platform, um, or just
Well, because
banking on the people who is or who are going to continue using the platform.
yeah. Well, also keep in mind that so this delay with TikTok, and they've got 75 more days. So it still is unclear how long TikTok will continue to operate after the executive order yesterday was signed. I mean, so yes, it's great, but this seems temporary. And I mean, I think the algorithm, so don't forget in 2020 Instagram released Reels to copy TikTok. Reels did not exist before 2020, and they did it in response to TikTok's popularity. So, it is interesting because, Instagram does need to stay relevant with young users. Obviously, Meta does want to use this opportunity to kind of poach creators to their platform by offering them payouts. So, but yeah, can it stay like that for a long time? I mean, it's interesting also because personally, I'm not a creator. I don't understand like that space of having, a large following and posting on Instagram in that sense. But I think Meta earns a lot of income from advertising on those videos. So, I mean, I don't know if it's too much to say, but yeah, $10,000, $50,000 if you're a huge creator, that sounds like a lot of money. But like, I wonder how much they actually profit from those creators' viral videos. Because if a creator gets, you know, I mean, there are some with a ton of views. I mean, if let's say on average, 250,000. I mean, there are some creators I've seen with like 250,000 views per video. I mean, if they average 250,000 views per video, 30 videos a day, that gets them 7.5 million views. And I mean, Instagram has a lot of ads. So anyway, they're still paying a creator $50,000 to post, I mean, or 10,000, whatever it is, to post on their platform. But it's interesting because I don't think, I know Nikki said that, oh yeah, they do pay creators based on views, but it just has never seemed to me that Meta has been very generous with their creator payout program.
Well, and it could be something that they're trying out, but you're right. I mean, you've never really heard, you never really heard a lot about, Meta essentially paying off creators, basically.
Well, because YouTube Shorts and YouTube seems like, I mean, you hear about creators on YouTube talking about how much they've made. You kind of know what the cost per click is. And I mean, I think it depends on your niche, but I think it's kind of well known that it's between maybe $2 to $5 per 1,000 views. So again, you can do the math fairly easily if you'd like to estimate what a creator might have earned off of a video or on their channel this month. And of course, there are tools that help you see that. But Instagram and TikTok, it doesn't seem to be super clear how creators are getting paid. And obviously, even Musk has talked about on X, them trying to build a video platform and engaging creators as well. And oh, we're gonna pay creators. We're gonna pay creators. That's what your X premium subscription also goes to. And I think, but nobody's talked about it. They don't have a mechanism where, hey, if you get 1,000 views, we pay you $5, or we share half of the revenue. I know it seems like they say that, but it's other than YouTube, it doesn't really seem like creators have much of a, consistent platform to grow on. So anyway, it'll be interesting to see if Instagram can court these TikTok creators with these large cash bonuses. And, yeah, it's very, very interesting to see.
Well, and shifting gears, I don't know if you saw anything about this, but the Switch 2 kind of had a little teaser video. I threw it in the show today just because it's kind of an iconic pandemic era artifact. Really, it's approaching the PS2 in total sales, the best-selling console of all time. And it's really, supposedly going to integrate some, there's no sort of discussion or anything other, really anything else revealed other than, a 2-minute teaser video with some kind of hardware tweaks and improvements. I mean, we're seeing, kind of a bigger screen, different kind of redesign, perhaps magnetic Joy-Cons, very, it seems like they've been taking notes on maybe what went right or what didn't. But I don't know if you saw it or, thinking of getting one. I mean, it is an interesting bit of hardware. I don't know.
Yeah, it looks cool. It looks, I mean, the Switch has done really well as like a portable console. You can also plug it in. So it looks like this September, uh, gamers will be, excited for this next generation console. It also seems so it's got a joystick or a little trigger. Is that kind of the difference? Like, what are some of the differences of the
Well,
Switch?
yeah, I mean, so we're looking at a larger screen, at least, and this is from Nintendo's announcement. There's really not a ton, kind of known about it yet, but reportedly it's going to be an 8-inch LCD, compared to the original 6.2-inch LCD on the uh, OG Switch, and then the 7-inch screen on the OLED Switch. Um, it seems to be, more or less, perhaps, around 25% larger than the original,
Hmm.
at least when compared side by side. We're basically expecting something perhaps as powerful as the PlayStation 4 or Xbox One, in terms of, processing power. A Tegra 239 has kind of been thrown around as the engine inside of it. Supposedly, um, we'll have expandable storage with a full size SD card slot this time, and 256 gigs built in memory.
Hmm.
So a lot of kind of minor tweaks and improvements besides that. A few hardware changes. There's two USB-C ports, a headphone jack, um, and then also a kickstand as well. So that's kind of been redesigned to kind of cover the entirety of the back of the console. So it's a little bit, perhaps more or less ergonomic or usable. Um, it's seems to be a lot of quality of life upgrades that perhaps will make life a little bit better. Maybe.
So
I don't
so
know.
so this NVIDIA CUDA core processor, I'm reading a Forbes article, it's 500% more power than the original Switch. So it seems like is this console performance might be, how can we compare it to like a PS5 or
Well,
the
so
current
yeah,
Xbox?
if it's a lot, according to leaked details, I mean, we'll be looking at something, similar to a PS4 in terms of overall hardware.
I see.
If we can believe what's kind of been swirling around the rumor mill. So Nintendo's always kind of, at least, really since the, I don't know, since the Wii generation, and maybe even before that, but the GameCube was pretty powerful. It's kind of taken a more nuanced approach. Sort of, we're not really going to focus on the hardware per se, but rather the console experience as a whole.
Yeah.
So expect it to be as powerful as perhaps the last generation of PlayStation and Xbox. Um, and perhaps packing in some upscaling technologies or otherwise into the mix.
So,
So
but
it's
it's still a portable console for the, I mean, it is portable.
absolutely, and that's kind of,
Yeah.
that's the kicker, is you're still going to have the dock that we all know and love. That'll probably have it running in a higher power configuration or a higher performance mode, and then also the handheld form factor,
Yeah.
that we know and love, right? So just sort of, you'll be able to take it on the go with you. Um, it will have a docked configuration as well. So from a basic standpoint, as far as form factor, and really what, you know, the overall Switch experience is remaining the same. Um,
Yeah.
significantly more powerful, a lot larger, with thinner bezels, um, but still kind of that classic experience, um, that we all know and love, from the original, that made it really the success it was, in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, people really like it. So September this year, the Switch 2 will have all the news when it comes out and see, yeah, if it can live up to the hype. I'm sure it'll do well. I mean, I mean, why not with these improvements that people have been asking for? And yeah, I'm sure some new games and yeah, super portable and efficient as always. It's really impressive how much they can pack into this with an 8-inch screen. Yeah, very cool. Very, very cool. So iOS 18.3, we've got
We
some
we do have to
Apple
talk about that.
intelligence, which obviously has been hallucinating your notifications. So probably not the best if you use it. But yeah, let's talk about 18.3.
Well, perhaps the most eyebrow raising, I guess we'll put it that way. Apple's at it again. They heard that people don't want something, so naturally, they will, um, be forcing it on people. Um, it's kind of a natural, succession to that. But what I mean is, if you've avoided turning on Apple Intelligence or using Apple Intelligence, and you have a device that's capable of it, for whatever reason, um, it's going to be turned on,
Yeah.
and you'll have to turn it off by default, instead of the other way around.
Well, so
So,
Apple really wants to push their latest tech, and they want you to, ooh, see what you've got, see what's new, show off. Look what our AI can do. However, that's until you notice that it's probably not always accurate.
well, in I mean, it seems like maybe they haven't had the best buy-in. Perhaps, I mean, I don't know. It's, especially again, as you said, those high-profile, um, incidents with, you know they're not, um, they're summarizing notifications incorrectly for, really high-profile news articles.
Yeah.
So that's kind of one of those things where it's like, maybe we should have tested this first. I don't know. Like,
Well, yeah, it's not
maybe.
getting it right all the time. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to find a specific example, but I think sometimes it doesn't understand the full context where it's I think this really comes down to summarizing and how do you summarize the key points of a notification within they're limited by what 2 lines of a notification bubble. So I mean it is hard to really drill down to a few texts that you got and what's important with this news, or let's summarize 3 notifications into one with AI. But I don't think, I mean, personally, the most accurate way is just look at the notification itself. Like I haven't personally found much value from it. I think it's a cool idea if it works all the time, but even then, like I just don't think it's really living up to the hype. Now, I do find that the notification or the suggested responses is kind of interesting, where it'll read the text and then it'll give you a response. But to me, that just seems like, okay, well, is this someone's generic response? Because my brain would naturally say something else. So, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to figure out how it's not really smart. I mean, and it doesn't understand. Like, I mean, I guess if you're going to ask it, questions that you might want to know instead of searching something on Google, then I can see that for the most of the time it would do a better job than Siri, but it's not really that impressive for something, and to me. And also, I know people who already have Chat GPT, you can connect it, but you don't. I think this is a misconception. You don't, maybe I'm wrong, but you don't seem to get Chat GPT as Apple AI. So Apple Intelligence, Apple AI it's not Chat GPT. So it's like if you still pay for that, that is a separate product. Apple Intelligence it's not really clear how they're integrated. I don't know if do you see the same? Do you see what I'm trying to say?
No, and you bring up a great point. You get a limited number of ChatGPT uses with Apple Intelligence. I don't know the exact amount. Specifically, I don't have a device that supports it. Slash, I also have not turned it on. On the ones that do, it's just sort of. I mean, you get a few writing tools and a Genmoji image playground. Great. Not interested. I mean, it's just sort of like it's almost it's not a very like
Yeah.
And that's what currently exists too. I mean, now what's also funny is that we had the whole visual intelligence where supposedly we're going to be able to take your phone and point it at a building or a location, and retrieve information about it. I haven't heard anything personally on it. And I think that's just, if there was something kind of worth the hype, I mean, we would have heard about it. Just because I spend a lot of my time reading and researching this stuff, just kind of keeping up to date on what's going on. I mean, I'm going to look into it right now, actually, but it's if this was just kind of a killer feature, I feel like we would have heard about it a little bit more.
To me, like an extension of the maps.
And that's something too. That's
I don't know if you've seen it, but in maps they've had. Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say it's something that's still coming soon. In 18.3.
Gotcha.
But
how does this compare to the maps integration? Because they've had it, if your compass isn't working, you can hold your phone up to see a more accurate representation of where you are. You're not talking about that. You're not talking about an extension of that.
No, so this will be a part of Apple Intelligence. So it's, essentially, what visual intelligence is. It's exclusive to the iPhone 16 and 16 Pro models. And it uses the camera control button to, get details about places, summarize text, read things out loud, translate, go to a website link, send emails and make phone calls, and among other just sort of among other things. And what's interesting is that they rolled out some of this in iOS 18.2. But iOS 18.3, you'll essentially receive, a few more features and, kind of also a little bit more on kind of what was promised initially, which is pretty, which is pretty nice, right? So identifying plants and animals, um, but kind of in real time as opposed to in your Photos app. I don't know how particularly useful this will be. A demo that Apple
Mhm.
used was taking a picture of a cat and sort of it's saying, oh, well, this is, or looking at a cat with your camera. And it's like, oh, this is a tabby cat. And it's like, okay, it's a cool feature, right? But is it useful? Um, maybe not. Um,
Yeah.
And we've seen this before too with Google Lens. Um, and so was it a useful feature? Absolutely. Um, and did it change the world? Uh, you know, maybe not. But another, also interesting quirk is that this is only available on, the iPhone 16. Um,
Mm.
so even if you have a phone that is, the iPhone 15 is less than 2 years old, it's kind of more of that software gatekeeping. Um, that it's you know maybe
Well,
maybe
yeah.
it's not worth it, and
Well,
that seems to be the resounding consumer response. Because Apple kind of went from marketing features to just sort of saying this is Apple Intelligence and this is what it is and why you need it, instead of saying, you know are you annoyed by constant spam text messages? It's just sort of like Apple Intelligence takes care of that. It's like in a way, they should have really just highlighted a lot of the modern annoyances of technology. Um, Unsolicited SMSs, phone, robotic phone calls. At least focusing
yeah.
on that perhaps could have gotten them a bit further. But I'm not a marketing guy, but also it seems to be a distinct shift from when the first iPod was released. It was very quickly apparent, um kind of what issue it solved. It was sort of, and at the time it was huge. I mean, 1,000 songs in your pocket. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, it's just sort of like immediately you are like locked into, and nowadays it's a little bit harder to get excited about technology, but that makes things a little bit harder. um you know but it also means you can't just release something, tell people, well, this is what this thing does, um and you don't know why you need it yet, but just sort of, they started with the what and not the why, and I think that was kind of the um
Well, they want to be a part of this AI craze, and so they're giving you a feature that's not complete whatsoever, so they can say, "Hey, we have this product that does all these interesting things that are kind of subpar, but they're cool. And if you have the latest phone, you can, when you talk to Apple Intelligence, the glowy ring surrounds your phone, so it's very easy to see that it's working and listening to you. And then it tries to summarize your notifications, and it'll give you suggestions and summarize your emails and find the most important things you need to prioritize. But it's not really like automating anything. It's not really saving much of our time. And I think it kind of goes to, yeah, how can you build AI that serves you to do a repetitive task for you. Do you know what I mean? Like, you still need to look at your notifications. So it's not like it's the goal should really be to replace that, right?
Well, let
You're
me
going to read that article, you're going to respond to that friend, right?
let me pose a hypothetical for you too. It's just sort of, if Apple Intelligence could do one thing, to make your life easier using your phone, what would you wish it could do?
So I would really like to see an automation builder. So kind of in a way similar to, let's say, maybe automations in the home app, where you can say at the time of day, do this. I think it would be more useful personally if Apple built an AI agent or workflow builder, like a really easy to follow, where you can visualize, a trigger, and then, it does X, Y, and Z, right? So I think that would be more useful than today, where it's not really accomplishing something breathtaking, right? But if you always do, you know, if you want to automate certain things, I think it would be more useful. Does that make sense? Like, to have a very easy to use, and this could be built in. Keep in mind, like, based on the time in your phone's, clock, it could process the automation on device or whatever, a few things in the cloud if it needs to send a message or check the weather maybe before alerting you. But think about that. Like, it would be really cool to get like custom daily summaries based on just kind of a more advanced automation system. So I think that would be a better use case, for example.
Also, let
And
me
I
ask a
mean, look, today
question.
you can still build, you can build that today, but
Well, yeah,
it's
are you
clunky,
familiar
and
with
Apple never really
shortcuts?
the shortcuts. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But it's not really done. I don't know. Shortcuts never really hit it for me, in the sense where, I mean, I'm not saying it's not useful. I think for certain things, yes, that is what you would have to use today. But I don't think it's not something your average person is going to, you know, is going to do themselves. So I think if your phone learns your habits and then can suggest automations based on things that you do, that would be really cool, and whether it's, based on your screen time, maybe it'll send you notifications, maybe it'll based on where your phone's location is, it'll do something, or based on the weather or the time of day, or if your smart home notices something, or if someone appears on your camera, then or a window opens, or the temperature in your apartment gets to be a certain way, then something happens. So I think our phones should be learning, and they're listening, they're suggesting what apps, they think we want to open. I think the next step would be, AI automations, where also the AI is helping you build the automation. So I'm not saying get rid of shortcuts. I'm saying if Apple Intelligence wants to be a truly useful feature, they need to help us automate, because also people don't want to sit down. Like, this is the interesting thing too, where I know we've talked about that, the phone agent, the voice agent that I built for my voicemail, let's say, right? So I really enjoy that platform because, it's a visual builder. You can see where each node connects, and you can kind of, it's not easy to build. It's what I'm trying to say. It takes time to tweak things, but if AI could get you there, from the beginning, 90% of the way, or even 100% of the way, right? For most people that then don't want to have to ever manually do something, they want to be able to ask the intelligence, hey, I would like the automation to be different in the morning when I wake up. I want X, Y, and Z. And I'm not talking just about home automation. I'm talking about, like, based on things you're doing on your phone, maybe prioritizing certain notifications, maybe noticing that you wake up and then reading things to you automatically. I mean, I don't know. I think that they could do a better job building kind of like the shortcuts app, but doing it automatically, because I have found shortcuts kind of difficult to know how to do everything. And so I think it would be very useful to have like a personal, I guess you could say, AI automation builder built into our phones that can be processed right there on our devices. So, I mean, that's my hope for AI as a standout feature, and I don't see many other operating systems really taking that leap. So, personally,
No,
I hope
that's
that
that's a fair point. Just sort of making the AI accessible. Um, and if I'm hearing you right, maybe just sort of a kind of an easy to use, so basically shortcuts on steroids, essentially. So now you have a shortcut that can
yeah, for sure.
respond to an email, when you get a specific notification.
So,
Or
absolutely. So, I think we've all seen sci-fi movies, right? Where you walk into your home and the assistant says, "Hey, while you were away, you received blah 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 and you got this and I'm going to respond to this person." And I think that we still don't have that. Where what if I woke up and I could customize how I wanted Siri to give my daily welcome automation, my morning routine automation, you could say. It's like we don't have the ability to do that. You can ask Siri manually, "Hey, please tell me what the weather is outside." You tell me, but it's not going to do that unless, yeah, you have a shortcut flow built or you have, I don't know, an automation in your home app. So I think a platform that's mobile friendly, iOS, Mac friendly, that can build automations, whether it's reading text or your notifications or even digging into the apps. Like um I've been enjoying using the iPhone mirroring feature a lot more lately, where if your phone is, I don't know, on the couch or somewhere nearby but not right next to you, you can actually check in on your MacBook, on your Mac. You just go to iPhone mirroring, connect to it, type your password, and as long as you're not using your phone and it's nearby, then you can control your phone. And so I think it's really neat because imagine if an AI was, I mean, kind of trained, right, to do things that I want it to do. And so I think it would be really fascinating to, in real time, summarize my notifications. So, for example, the news, like I really do like the news. And so if I'm, waking up and I have a few notifications from whatever the Wall Street Journal or New York Times or whatever
sure,
publication has
yeah,
alerted me, or Apple News, right? I'd like it to say, "Hey, here's your daily summary. What happened overnight?" And kind of give the rundown where I don't feel the need to turn on CNN, or I don't feel the need to read the full article unless it really intrigues me. And of course I would want to read the article, but what if I'm showering and I want my little 5-minute morning podcast summary of what happened? So I think that could be built into a morning automation. And so I think, or even theoretically what I just said, right? Like what if you walk into your bathroom, you have a motion sensor, you've got that home pod set to play the notifications you received overnight. That way you wake up, you go take a shower, and as soon as the motion is detected in the bathroom, it connects to your iPhone, reads, your top 5 or 10 news notifications and messages or whatever you received. This is what we envision AI in the future being, these super hyper personalized workflows that have kind of learned our habits and learned our behavior, and we can tweak them. And just like you walk into a, what do you call it, your hotel room or a house, or and all the windows go up and the shades and the lights turn on and the mood and the music, your favorite music's on. I think we still don't have that ability. And also, last thing I'm going to say about this, that I'm surprised, that of course, now in the world of Matter, the protocol that is for smart home devices, I can't, the fact that I can't see my home security cameras from Nest and Google in Apple, I think that's kind of crazy. Like, of course, the walled garden here, where that's a Nest, that's a Google camera, and no, it doesn't play nice with Apple's ecosystem. So therefore, if I wanted to make an automation that if it detects motion or a package was delivered or whatever, like it's Apple's ecosystem is not going to have that. And so I guess I think it's just crazy when you think about, the potential that some of these platforms, for AI automation personalized to us have. I think you also can't control music when you're not nearby. And look, I don't know if I'm the only one that does this, but I want the dog when I'm not home to have a playlist so that it feels like I'm home in the background, like a soundscape. And I'm just, again, this is one thing where you can't set an automation, or you can't even do that with HomePods right now, where if I'm not home, I can control the music remotely. And it's like, it is my smart home. It is my internet, my router, my HomePods in my home. And guess what? I want to control what the music volume is, or what the song that's playing is, and I just, these are some simple things that I'm surprised Apple doesn't have. So anyway, this monologue is over, but I hope that Apple Intelligence can start to integrate with iOS 19 and the future generations of, the next year. I hope we get personally an AI automation platform. That's me. That everybody can use. So.
Well, and that's an interesting take, and honestly, little, it's a little bit too straightforward and useful for Apple to actually implement. So, I'm sure they'll
But to do it
get right
well
on
would
it.
be hard. Well, to do it well would be hard. I mean, I'm not denying that. I mean, it really would be hard to do that well. To build a platform that's, you can customize all these parameters from all these different sources and apps, and I
Well,
mean, they would
they
from the
already
ground up.
have. I mean,
Yeah.
they already have that within shortcuts. I mean, it's sort
Yeah,
of.
but it's not smart enough though. It's not smart enough to the fact that it can like recognize what images are, and read the text and summarize it within an instant, and then recognize what preference you had set, and then it's a lot of moving parts that they really don't have down. So, and that's fine, but yeah.
Well, because I mean, a lot of this stuff too. It's like the HomeKit automation and stuff. I mean, like, because there already is third party app support. I mean, in Zoom, you can join your next meeting. In Starbucks, you can order ahead. You can, so there are a few, you can open the store map in Lowe's, of all things. But, kind of going back to what Meta is saying, it's like, hey, like, provide an incentive for these app developers to, essentially, hey, like, we will, free app store, Apple, it's not even a thing that could cost them. It's a matter of like, we'll give you a developer account free for the next 2 years if you implement, shortcut actions and integrate your app. But no, I think, it's a little bit too practical in that way.
Well, hopefully. I mean, because look, someone else is going to build it. Some ecosystem is going to build it. And I mean, hey, maybe that's Matter. Maybe that's another system that's just open and open source that can take all these. Because I mean, honestly, the best platform is probably one that no one company controls, because like I just said with the security smart cameras, where the Google ones don't play with the Apple ecosystem, it's like, I mean, everything really should be able to connect together. I mean, it's I mean, come on, that's just, it's built over the internet. It connects. They all connect to servers. They all. It's just it's amazing to me, how some of these systems don't play well together. So.
Well, we'll have to keep an eye on all this Apple Intelligence stuff. Will it ever be useful?
I know. That's
Thankfully,
for sure.
we're on the younger side, so maybe we'll get to see it. But I wouldn't hold my breath for for that.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, and yeah, we'll have to keep tabs on that, and we'll be here. Yeah, back with the news every Tuesday. So, thanks for tuning in. Do we have any final thoughts of the day? Did any messages come in while we were on?
I'll check our X
think
here.
so. I don't
oh
think
shoot!
so.
I called it X. Damn it! I've been meaning to not do that.
Twitter. Elon. Were you going to call it the Elon platform?
No, I meant to call it Twitter, but it's slowly rubbing off on me. I mean, the thing is, like, at least from a jaded perspective, it gets really hard to keep track of all the things that were used to be called something, and now someone told you to call it something else, and they changed all the branding and they did it really nice. And at a certain point, you just can't keep track of all the stuff,
Yeah,
I call it a Freudian slip more than anything else, but
well, that's all the tech news for today, guys. Thanks for tuning in. You've been listening to Tech Talk Not Live. Join us next Tuesday, and visit our website. Subscribe to our email list if you'd like to stay updated with our podcast and the latest in the tech space on our website, techtalklive.xyz.
Absolutely, yeah. Follow us, subscribe to our email list, and check out our website. We'll be back next Tuesday.